Ichinen High School is playing an important match against Matsuke's, a team that is 1 point ahead of them, and if Ichinen wins this game, they will make it to the finals. Isagi, a player from Ichinen, runs toward the goalkeeper because he really wants his team to go to nationals. He passes the ball to his teammate, but the teammate misses the goal, and then a Matsuke's player named Ryosuke hits the ball into the net, winning the match for his team. On his way home, Isagi thinks about his idol, Noel Noah, who is known as the best player in Europe, and wonders if things would have been different if he had not passed the ball to Tada and tried to shoot instead. He realizes that football is a team sport and that he cannot win by himself, and begins to cry because he really wanted to win. Later that night, Isagi's mother gives him a letter that was sent by the Japan Football Union, and when he opens and reads it, he discovers that he has been selected to become a certified athlete. The next day, Isagi arrives at the Japan Football Union building and runs into Ryosuke, who has also been invited. They both enter the building, which is crowded with people, and then a mysterious man appears on the stage. He introduces himself as Jinpachi Ego and congratulates them, explaining that they are among 300 strikers under the age of 18 selected for a special program. He tells them that he will conduct an experiment to train one of them to become the world's best striker. For this purpose, he created the Blue Lock facility, where they will live and undergo intense, top-level training. Kira objects to the program because everyone already has important teams and upcoming nationals that they cannot just leave behind. Other players agree, saying they cannot give up on their teams or the nationals. Ego responds by telling them that anyone who wants to leave is free to do so, questioning whether becoming the #1 high school team matters more than becoming the world's best striker. Then, Isagi points to a door and tells the players that they should go through it if they truly want to become the best striker. Without hesitation, Isagi runs toward the door, and soon, more players follow him one by one. Later, Isagi arrives at his dorm room, which is already full, and finds his new roommates along with Ryosuke. They all change into their training clothes, and then Ego appears on a screen, explaining that the numbers on their uniforms show their abilities. Isagi notices that his number is 299, which is extremely low, and Ego tells them that their ranks will change depending on the results of their training and matches. He adds that the top 5 players will get to play in a tournament held 6 months from now and will also be registered as forwards for the U-20 World Cup. However, he warns them that anyone who fails in Blue Lock will never get a chance to play for Japan. Ego then gives them a ball and tells them that they have 139 seconds, warning that anyone hit by the ball will be locked out. Igarashi, who is ranked 300th, becomes the first in Isagi's dorm, room Z, and tries to hit Isagi but completely misses his shot. Ryosuke finds the game weird and says that he joined the program only to prove Ego wrong about everything. Igarashi keeps trying to hit other players, but every attempt fails miserably. Afterward, another guy named Bakira passes the ball to Isagi, who then hits Ryosuke. Meanwhile, at a meeting, a red baddie who is a member of the football union named Anri says that Japan will never win the World Cup, but another man, Hiratoshi, replies that it does not matter as long as they make money. Back in Blue Lock, Ryosuke cannot believe that Isagi accidentally hit him with the ball, which was a mistake on Isagi's part. At that moment, Ego announces that Ryosuke is disqualified for losing, and Ryosuke loses his temper, shouting angrily at Ego. Ego then explains that Blue Lock is directly related to football, pointing out that the area they are in is designed like a penalty box, where 75% of all goals happen. He says that if a player cannot work well in this space, they do not have the talent to be a striker. He adds that the tag game they are playing tests important skills such as awareness of other players' positions, tactics, proper positioning, dribbling, and accurate aiming, all of which are necessary to succeed as a striker. After Ryosuke leaves, Isagi wonders why he was hit by the ball and asks Bakira why he passed the ball to him. Bakira replies that it seemed like Isagi was definitely going to kick it. Later, Ego appears and congratulates them for passing the admission exam for the Blue Lock dorm, explaining that all 11 of them will be living together. 3 days later, all of them begin their training, and at the cafeteria they get rice and soup, but the side dishes they receive change depending on their ranking. That night, Isagi cannot sleep because he keeps thinking about how Ryosuke and the others are better than him, and he realizes that he needs to do something or he might be the next to get kicked out. As Isagi leaves the room, he meets Bakira, who invites him to train together. Isagi asks why Bakira passed the ball to him instead of aiming for Ryosuke, and Bakira explains that there is a monster inside him. He says the monster tells him what decisions to make and adds that all great players have monsters inside them. Just then, an announcement comes that the results of their fitness test are out, and they should return to their rooms. After going back, Isagi checks his rank and realizes it has improved to 274. Ego then appears on the screen again and explains that the 25 teams are split into 5 groups and that each team lost 1 player in the tag game, leaving a total of 275 players remaining in Blue Lock. Meanwhile, inside a private jet an interviewer sits across Rin Itoshir, a genius midfielder who plays for one of the world's top clubs called Royale. Due to regulations, Itoshir cannot play in the first team and returns to Japan. He refuses to play either domestically or internationally, saying that Japan's team is weak and does not have forwards capable of using his passes. At the same time, Ego tells everyone that the first selection will involve all 55 players in Building 5, where 5 teams will play against each other. After that, the players decide to play rock paper scissors to choose, and Isagi somehow wins, so everyone tells him which position they want to play in. 5 minutes before the game starts, they quickly plan about what formation they will use for the match. Soon after, they walk onto the field to face Team X. The match begins and is set to last for 45 minutes. Bakira passes the ball to Isagi, but Raichi steals it away and says he doesn't care about the team because only the top scorer will pass the selection. Right then, Kunigami steps in and tries to take the ball from Raichi, and the two of them start arguing with each other in the middle of the game. Just then, a player named Barou from Team X quickly takes control of the ball and easily dribbles past Isagi and the others. Barou then shoots without much effort and scores the first goal for his team. After that, Team Z starts arguing again about their positions, but eventually, Isagi passes the ball to Bakira. However, Igarashi suddenly steals it from him, saying that only the top scorer on the team will survive. Meanwhile, the players on Team X decide to support Barou so they don't have to chase individual goals themselves but can still win matches as a group. They keep passing the ball to Barou, and when 6 players from Team Z try to surround him, Barou simply passes it to his open teammates, who easily score another goal. Isagi realizes that Team X plays together as a team, while his own group is not coordinating at all. He thinks that the bigger the goal difference becomes, the more his teammates only focus on themselves instead of working together. After that, Bakira tells Isagi that it is impossible for them to score 5 goals in the next 3 minutes, but if the two of them can at least get 1 goal back, they can change the game. Isagi agrees, deciding that they will turn their team's 0 into a 1. Afterward, the match begins and Bakira takes the ball before passing it to Isagi. Barou comes facing him, stating he is the king and can't let someone stand out more than him. Isagi wonders what to do. At the same time, Kunigami and Raichi come over, asking Isagi to pass the ball to them. Isagi feels the urge to play alone in order to survive as a striker, but in that moment, he clearly sees the field and decides to pass the ball to his right, where Kunigami is waiting. Kunigami takes the shot and scores for Team Z. When the match ends, Team X wins with a total of 5 goals, and Isagi begins to wonder if he really has what it takes to play. After the game ends, everyone starts arguing with each other, but Kunigami steps in and tells them that their only goal happened because of Isagi and Bakira. Soon after, Kyuan comes back from the shower and reminds them that they need 7 points in order to advance. Isagi then admits that he does not have a clear strategy yet, but he understands what it means to be at soccer's 0. He explains that in today's match everyone was only thinking about themselves, and the thing that broke through that 0 was Barou's goal. Isagi also says that because of Ego's rules, everyone's egos were exposed, and they were forced to play in their own way. Right then, Ego appears on the screen and tells them that they are heading in the right direction. He informs them that the second game in Building 5 has just ended, and Team V defeated Team Y with a score of 8-0. Ego explains that while Team Z is starting to understand the path forward, they still do not know how to truly turn 0 into 1. He then begins talking about Japan, saying that Japanese people love having roles assigned to them so they can simply focus on completing their tasks. After that, everyone begins to share their specialties, calling them their weapons, but when it is Isagi's turn, he cannot figure out what his weapon is, so the group skips over him. Then Chijiri, who looks like a male version of Makima, says that he does not want to reveal his weapon at all. Kyuan steps in and explains that a striker needs to have a powerful weapon, and what matters most is how they make use of it. However, another player argues that if everyone only focuses on doing what they want, things will end up just like the last game. During dinner, Isagi wonders if he really has a weapon he can be proud of and remembers how Barou told him that he has no talent. Just then, Kunigami arrives and thanks Isagi for the pass he gave him earlier, but Isagi instead asks why he plays soccer. Kunigami tells him that his dream is to become a soccer superhero, and he explains that when he was a child, he never admired fictional heroes but looked up to real-life strikers. Afterward, Kunigami orders a steak and offers to share some with Isagi, who is stuck eating plain natto because of his low rank. Kunigami then asks again why Isagi passed the ball to him when Raichi was actually more open. Isagi explains that it happened subconsciously when he saw Barou in front of him. He quickly thought Kunigami could pull off a mid-range shot. Hearing this, Kunigami suggests that this kind of instant decision-making might actually be Isagi's weapon. The next day, the fourth match begins with Team Z facing Team Y. Since Team Y already lost their first game, they are desperate to win, and Kyuan warns everyone to watch out for their number 9, who is the top scorer from Kumamoto Prefecture. After that, Team Z decides on their positions, with Aiman and Chidori rotating every 10 minutes. The game kicks off with Bakira as the first striker, supported by Kunigami and Igarashi. Bakira's weapon is his dribbling, a solo tactic where he moves up the field alone. He quickly passes 2 defenders but then runs into 3 opponents, and Isagi realizes this is their tactic, where the third player steps in to steal the ball. At the same time, Isagi notices that Team Y's number 9 is not even defending. Just then, Nico passes the ball to number 9, Okawa, who finally scores the opening goal. In the second half, Imamura steals the ball and takes his turn as striker, but when his 10 minutes are up, Gagamaru takes over the role with Imamura and Narahaya supporting him. Isagi then joins into Gagamaru's formation and manages to get the ball. He aims to send an early cross into a nearly impossible space, but he overhits it. Somehow, Gagamaru appears right on time and strikes the ball with his face, but the goalkeeper still blocks the shot. Team Z earns a corner kick, but Isagi feels a terrible sense of danger, worried that if the enemy gains possession during this critical moment, it could lead to disaster. After that, Narahaya takes the role of striker with Isagi and Gagamaru playing behind him. His weapon is slipping past the defensive line, but when Isagi passes the ball to him, it gets blocked by 2 defenders from the other team. A moment later, one of Team Y's players sends a pass to Nico, but Isagi steps in and intercepts it. When it is finally Isagi's turn to be striker, he decides they should stick with their current formation so that he can keep breaking up Nico's plays and disrupting his coordination. Nico then asks Isagi if he also listened to Igo's talk about using their weapons, which made Nico think carefully about what his own unique weapon might be. With only 10 minutes left in the match, it finally becomes Igarashi's turn to play as the striker, but he seems quite annoyed with the players from Team Y. Isagi tells him that their opponents will not attack right away since they don't have anyone who can create chances on their own. When just 1 minute remains, Nico says that they will now use their revenge tactic and passes the ball to Okawa. This time, instead of leaving him alone, the entire Team Y pushes forward with Okawa, and he quickly passes the ball back to Nico, who begins moving dangerously close toward the goalkeeper. At the last second, he sends the ball to Okawa, who almost manages to kick it, but before he can, Isagi jumps in and takes the ball away completely. Right after that, Isagi passes it to Kunigami, who then gives it over to Bakira, and Bakira quickly sends it to Gabamaru, who then passes it back toward Isagi. Isagi runs forward with all his speed, catches up to the ball, and takes the shot that goes in, making the score 2-1 and giving them the win. Later on, everyone is full of joy as they celebrate the victory with a big steak party. That same night, Isagi can't sleep at all, so he walks to the monitor room, where he finds Chidori already sitting there, watching the replay of Isagi's goal. Chidori then says that Isagi has special awareness as most people just judge based on their point of view. After hearing that, Isagi asks Chidori what his own weapon is, but Chidori explains that he tore his right ACL a year ago, and the doctor warned him that if the same spot gets hurt again, his whole career could be finished. The next day, Team Z goes back to their training, and Igo tells them that the 6th round is finished and 3 teams are tied on 1 win, 1 loss. Kyuan wonders that if they don't win the next game against Team W, they will be in trouble. Afterward, Igo changes everyone's ranks depending on how well they perform. Igo explains that strikers must prove their value through the goals they score, and the more important the goal is, the higher rank it will bring. After this, Isagi becomes the top player in Team Z, holding the 265th position. After that, Aiman points out the key players from Team W, the Wanama brothers, which include Keisuke and Junichi. He also explains that the 2 of them worked together to beat Barou's team, so the smart choice would be to split them apart. Kyuan then talks about how their earlier plan of switching every 10 minutes ended up wasting time whenever certain weapons didn't work well. This time, he suggests that they should start with a front 3 whose weapons match with each other, and then rotate the players 3 times, every 30 minutes. Later on, the game between Team Z and Team W begins, with the Wanama brothers quickly taking control of the ball and showing off as they play around with it. When the Wanama brothers see Chidori, they recognize him as the genius glass player and are shocked that he is still on the field. Since they were once his teammates, they tell him that his time as a player is already over. As they walk by, they ask if it is even safe for him to run, saying he could break his leg again. Right after that, Isagi tackles Junichi and passes the ball to Kyuan, who scores with a header. Later, the Wanama brothers take the ball again, but Kunigami steals it and passes to Bakira. Bakira quickly sends it to Kyuan, and Kyuan scores their second goal with ease. After some more play, Kyuan scores another goal too. The first half ends with Team Z in the lead, 3-0. The second half starts with the Wanama brothers showing their tricks, and Junichi scores a goal. The game goes on, and Junichi steals the ball from Isagi again, passing it to Keisuke, who also scores. When this happens, Isagi notices Kyuan smiling, but he wonders if he is just seeing things. The match continues, and Kunigami takes a mid-range shot toward Bakira, but Bakira gets trapped. He quickly passes the ball to Isagi, but as soon as Isagi receives it, Junichi shows up and steals it from him. Isagi starts to realize that the opponents might already know their plan. Junichi then passes to his brother, and Kyuan is standing right there with the chance to stop it, but instead he lets it go on purpose, allowing Keisuke to score another goal. Isagi figures out that Kyuan missed the ball on purpose, so he goes up to him and asks if he is really betraying the team. The Wanama brothers walk up behind Isagi and confirm it right away. They say that since Team Z already found out, they might as well tell the truth. They explain that they know all of Team Z's strategies, weapons, and weaknesses. Kyuan had sneaked out during the meeting the night before and went to Team W to offer them a deal. After that, Kyuan openly announces that he is now playing for Team W. The red-haired girl on the side gets angry and asks Ego if he is really going to allow it, but Ego just tells her to shut up and keep watching. The match goes on, and Isagi is still confused about why Kyuan would do something like this. Then Kyuan explains that the top scorer from the losing teams will still move on to the next selection. Kyuan's plan is revealed as he made a deal with Team W to give them all of Team Z's info and hand them the win, as long as they let him score 3 goals. After that, Isagi takes control of the ball and runs toward the goal, but the Wanama brothers immediately chase him and manage to steal it away. Isagi realizes that Team Z is at a huge disadvantage, playing 10 against 12, and if the opponents score again, they could lose the match. Junichi takes a shot at the goal, but Iman jumps in and blocks it. Soon after, Chidori gets the ball, but Keisuke steals it from him once more, making Chidori furious with frustration. Chidori remembers back in high school when he first met the Wanama brothers, who introduced themselves as the team's stars. Chidori wanted to win championships and refused to follow their style, easily beating them in a 2-on-1 match. He became a forward and led his team to many victories using his speed, until he suffered an ACL tear that could end his career if it happens again. Back in the present, Team X manages to get the ball, and as time runs out, the referees add an extra 3 minutes. Seeing this, Isagi takes the ball and runs full speed toward the goal like a maniac, shocking both the Wanama brothers and the members of Team Z. Junichi manages to tackle Isagi and takes the ball away. Isagi immediately starts running back, shouting that he will score. Chidori watches him and wants him to stop chasing the ball, to stop believing in himself so blindly. But Isagi manages to get the ball back and passes it to Chidori. For a moment, Chidori stands frozen, unsure what to do, and Isagi has to push him aside just to get the ball moving. Chidori pushes past his hesitation, catches up to Isagi, and tells him to pass the ball again. When Isagi does, Chidori sprints with everything he has, running like a maniac, and finally scores, tying the game. Isagi gets excited, but Chidori says it's really Isagi's fault watching him fired him up, and before he knew it, he was sprinting at full speed. Even though he might get injured and never play again, Chidori decides to put his faith in this new version of himself. On the other side, Team W is furious at Kyuan, and everyone starts attacking him, but Isagi steps in, letting Kyuan run away. After that, everyone goes back to regroup, thinking that their final match will be against Team V. Team Z notices Kyuan talking with members of Team V, offering them the same deal he made with Team W. However, Team V declines, saying it's boring. The Team V members sitting there are Tsurugi, Nagi, and Mikage. Nagi feels exhausted and asks Mikage to carry him back, wondering if football is really fun even when you lose. At that moment, Isagi steps forward, telling Nagi not to underestimate the game. Mikage looks at him curiously, asking who he is. Isagi introduces himself and confidently says that he will defeat them. Later, Iman tells everyone that if Team V draws the match, Team Z won't be able to move on because their goal difference is worse, so they have to win no matter what. Everyone worries that Kyuan might be listening to their plan, but Narahaya says that no one will make deals with him anymore. After that, Iman explains who the key players of Team V are: Tsurugi, Nagi, and Mikage, and warns that if they can't stop these three from scoring, they won't have any chance to win. Meanwhile, Nagi is busy playing video games instead of training, but Mikage tells Tsurugi that Nagi doesn't really need training anyway. After that, there's a flashback about Mikage. He was born into a rich family, and his father always told him that one day he would surpass him. Mikage could have anything he wanted, but he believed that if he got things too easily, it wouldn't be fun. One day, Mikage sees the World Cup on TV and sets his eyes on it as his goal, and he tells his father about it, but his father disagrees and doesn't support the idea. Determined, Mikage decides to first make his school the national champions, but the problem is, his school has a weak football team. One day, he bumps into Nagi, who is playing games on his phone, and that moment marks the beginning of their journey together. Back in the present, Raichi tells the others to start attacking Kuon, but Isagi says they still need an 11th player if they want to win the match. Kuon gets angry and refuses to play, saying that even if Team Z loses, he will still advance as the top scorer. Kunigami says that even if Kuon doesn't play, he will still somehow score 3 goals. Bakira then asks who will advance if 2 top scorers have the same number of goals. His teammates explain that it's the player with fewer yellow cards, but Bakira wonders what happens if those are equal too. At that moment, Ego appears on the screen and announces that in that case, it will be the player with the higher blue lock ranking who moves on. Since Kuon is currently the top-ranked player on Team Z, he feels safe and confident. Raichi, however, is furious that a traitor holds the highest rank, and Ego explains that in the first selection, only scoring is counted and nothing else. Later, Isagi goes to the practice ground and finds Barou there. Isagi asks him how he can become like him, and in response, Barou shoots the ball straight at his face. After that, they both start practicing together, and Barou shows off some of his moves, which surprises Isagi. He asks Barou to train with him more so he can learn. The next day, Iman explains the team positions before the game. Kunigami, Gabimaru, and Chidori make up the front 3 because of their shooting skills. The plan is to play defensively and rely on quick counterattacks since Team Z only has 10 players. Raichi warns Kuon to stay in the corner for the full 90 minutes or he'll be in trouble. Kuon agrees, not wanting to risk injury before the second selection. Bakira sadly asks Isagi if losing would mean they can't play football together anymore and promises to give everything he has. The game starts, and Team Z successfully blocks Mikage, forcing predictable passes that Igarashi intercepts. But Mikage quickly copies Bakira's long pass to Nagi, who controls the ball perfectly and scores a spectacular goal. Isagi realizes that the way Nagi fired his shot was completely insane, because even though defenders were right next to him and trying to block, he still managed to score, and in that very moment Isagi understands that they are facing a true monster on the field. After that, the ball gets passed over to Kunigami, but Mikage suddenly rushes in and steals it away from him before quickly sending the pass toward Nagi. Isagi shouts at Raichi and the other teammate to block Nagi right away, but Nagi still takes control of the ball and scores another goal with ease. The match goes on, and this time Chidori pushes forward as the striker, but his chance is ruined when Tsurugi intercepts and steals the ball, passing it over to Mikage, and Isagi quickly yells at everyone to stop him because he knows Mikage will send the ball straight toward Nagi again. Instead of passing the ball to Nagi like everyone expects, Mikage suddenly sends it over to Tsurugi, and Isagi quickly realizes that it was a terrible mistake to crowd so many players around Nagi, because now Tsurugi is left completely open. Tsurugi then slams the ball into the net and scores with confidence like a star player. Even though the situation looks bad, Bakira gets fired up and says that their trio is playing amazingly. Isagi points out that the score is already 3-0, but Bakira gives him a serious look and asks if he is feeling scared. Bakira then takes on Mikage directly, performing ultra-fast step-overs before spinning with a smooth roulette move to break past him. Right after that, Tsurugi comes running in to catch up with Bakira, but Bakira lifts the ball up with a quick lob, sending it flying into the air. As he catches it again with his leg, he changes its trajectory to the right but quickly changes it again to the left, doing a move that surprises Tsurugi with the feint and passing him too. Bakira then faces 3 more people from Team V, noting that if he can't pass them, he isn't on the level of being the best striker, and in the end, Bakira scores. Afterward, the match again continues with Mikage getting the ball, but Raichi grabs him, so he doesn't move. Mikage passes the ball to Tsurugi, who then gets trapped by Chidori, but he passes it to Nagi next. Nagi manages to hit the ball, but it hits Igarashi's face, and then, the ball gets to Bakira. Bakira then sends the ball over to Kunigami, who manages to break free from his defender, and while thinking to himself that he needs to evolve and step up, he decides to go for a powerful technical shot with all his strength. The ball rockets straight toward the center of the goal, and the goalkeeper looks at it closely, wondering if he should block it by punching it away, but then something strange happens. The The ball suddenly begins to wobble in the air, slightly shifting its direction at the very last moment, and it slips right past the goalkeeper's reach, ending up in the net and changing the score to 3-1. The second half continues with the ball in Gabimaru's control. He takes a scorpion kick, and just as the ball is about to reach the goal, Tsurugi suddenly appears out of nowhere and stops it. The ball then comes to Isagi, but his shot is blocked, and because of his own mistake, the ball gets stolen. Nagi immediately calls him useless and tells him to give up. Later, Raichi tries to stop Mikic from getting away with the ball, but Mikic hits him and earns a yellow card. However, Chidori gets the ball and starts running, but Tsurugi quickly catches up, showing that he is faster. Chidori notices this and admits it but adds that it's only true at the start. He knows that in a short 10-meter sprint, he can't beat Tsurugi, but over a longer distance, he can outrun him. Chidori keeps going, reaches the ball first, and takes a shot, scoring and tying the game at tie. Mikic thinks to himself that he doesn't want to be his parents' toy anymore, so he rushes forward, but Raichi stops him again. Looking around, Mikic realizes he is trapped, and just then Isagi arrives too. Mikic knows he can't let Team Z turn this into a comeback win. Seeing Mikic, Nagi quickly sprints toward him and asks him to pass the ball. Nagi takes the ball and dribbles toward the goalkeeper, weaving past several defenders. He's giving it his all because of Mikic, as after seeing that strange look on his face earlier, Nagi thought Mikic might lose for the first time. Tsurugi then passes the ball right into the goalkeeper's area. Nagi stops the ball, and even though the angle is tight, he turns and scores, making it 4-3. Isagi notices that Nagi has awakened, just like the rest of them. Nagi tells Mikic that football is actually pretty fun. He admits that his life used to be completely boring, until now, when he discovered his own form of ego, which he calls curiosity. After that, Team Z quickly makes a plan to stop the other team, especially Nagi, who has become an awakened monster. The game continues, and Isagi wonders what to do. He decides to stick close to Nagi, but then he sees Bakira with the ball, looking for someone to pass to as he's surrounded by 3 defenders. Bakira quickly passes to Chidori, telling him to run. Chidori gives himself a long pass and manages to outrun Tsurugi, but Nagi had anticipated it and is already ahead, waiting for the ball. Isagi steps in front of Nagi and says that if he wanted the ball, he should have waited a little longer. Isagi then lets Chidori keep running and passes the ball to him. Chidori takes the shot, but the goalkeeper manages to touch the ball slightly, redirecting it toward the post. Most of the players had gathered on one side to block Chidori, leaving the other side open where the ball rebounds. Gagimaru is there and takes the shot, but Mikic comes back in time and blocks it. The match continues. Nagi takes the ball while Isagi follows him closely, but Nagi uses a quick technique to pass the ball to the other side and then sprints toward the goalkeeper. At that moment, Kyuan jumps in and stops Nagi from scoring an obvious goal, and Team Z gets a foul. Everyone wonders why Kyuan would do that even though he was safe, and Kyuan simply tells them to focus on winning. After that, Team V sets up for a free kick with Mikic standing behind the ball. Ayman expects Mikic to shoot as an egoist, and he successfully blocks the attempt. The rebound reaches Tsurugi, but Raichi steps in and blocks him. Nagi then gets the ball, takes a shot over the crowded defense, but Gagimaru kicks it off the post, sending it to Isagi. After that, Isagi runs alongside Bakira and Chidori. He passes the ball to Bakira, but when Bakira is immediately attacked by a defender, he quickly passes it back to Isagi. Isagi then sends the ball to Chidori, the leg king, who sprints forward like lightning. The opposing team focuses on him, so Isagi asks for the ball again. Chidori thinks they can break through the defense with a 1-2 pass. Team V also expects the same and concentrates on stopping Chidori, but Isagi doesn't pass. Instead, he keeps the ball, using Chidori as bait. After that, Isagi passes to Kunigami, who is challenged by Tsurugi, but he quickly sends it back to Raichi, who dashes forward like a maniac. After that, Raichi passes the ball to Bakira. Isagi notices that Chidori and Kunigami's routes are blocked by defenders. Bakira trusts Isagi and passes the ball to him, but then Nagi appears like a ghost behind Isagi, running right alongside him. Without hesitating, Isagi decides to shoot with his first touch. The goalkeeper can't stop it, and Isagi scores and Team Z wins. Later, the team celebrates with drinks and Isagi thanks Bakira for the final pass, and Bakira tells him he can see that Isagi has learned something. Isagi smiles and confirms that he finally understands what his true weapon and talent are. At that moment, Nico congratulates them on surviving the match and says he survived too, and Nico explains that he awakened because of Isagi. Instead of holding back and passing on to others, he changed his style and started taking shots himself. He's still in blue lock thanks to Isagi, but he warns that next time he won't hold back and will crush Isagi. The next day, Ego tells everyone that they will focus on physical conditioning, and they are not allowed to kick a ball. The players spend the next 10 days working hard on their fitness. After that, the announcer announces that the first selection has ended and tells them to get ready and head to the central basement area of the building. Isagi and the others are excited to finally face players from other teams. As they gather, Isagi is surprised to see the other players looking worn out. He also notices that some of them are ranked 237th, and some are from Team X and Team W. Afterward, Ego reveals that there are no players from buildings 1 to 4, only building 5 exists in Blue Lock. He says this was a trick to break their confidence and make them hungry to become the world's best. He gives the example of Noel Noah, who grew up in the slums and used football as his only escape, unlike the comfortable lives of Japanese players. Ego announces the second selection, which has 5 stages, and only those who clear each stage will advance. The survivors will join a training camp with hand-picked, world-class players. He warns that the second selection is much harder and will eliminate anyone who survived only because of luck or good teammates, leaving only true egoists standing. Rin Itoshur shows off his skills by kicking 2 balls at once and hitting one in midair before entering first. The other players realize he is Sei Itoshi's brother. Even though they feel overwhelmed by players who seem unreal, Isagi and the others acknowledge their own abilities and step through the door to join the selection. Later, Isagi trains with a hologram known as the Blue Lock Man, who wants him to take shots. Isagi takes a shot, but the Blue Lock Man saves it, surprising him because the hologram actually touched the ball. He realizes that he must score 100 goals in 90 minutes, and with each round, the defenders get smarter and harder to beat. Anri explains that the room uses high-resolution panels that can shoot balls from the walls at random, similar to facilities used by some top German clubs. The room creates situations based on each player's individual skills and includes the Blue Lockman system, an AI hologram goalkeeper programmed using data from world-class goalkeepers. Meanwhile, Ego explains that the max level of the room recreates what happens in top-level matches. Players need to assess the situation, respond quickly, take accurate shots, and have enough stamina to keep doing all that for 90 minutes. To pass, they need a combination of mind, technique, and physical strength. However, Isagi fails to score at first, but thanks to all the physical conditioning he did, he can keep running. He manages to copy some moves from Bakira and Chijiri, but soon realizes that he still lacks technique, and the balls in the room move unpredictably. Finally, Isagi manages to score a perfect goal and Anri notices that Isagi is improving really fast. Later, Isagi reaches the second stage, where he has to form a team of 3. He finds Bakira, and they form a team together. Nagi asks Isagi if he can join, but Isagi refuses. Still, Nagi joins Isagi's team because there is 1 slot left, leaving Mikage behind. After that, they move to the next stage and see Rin Itoshur, but Ego then appears on the screen and explains that the third stage is a 3 vs 3 battle. Isagi immediately worries because he has to face Itoshur. Ego clarifies that the third stage is 3v3 with Blue Lockman goalkeepers, and the first team to score 5 goals will win. Winners steal a player from the losing team, forming 4-man teams. The fourth stage is a 4v4 match, and the winners again steal a player, forming 5-man teams. These 5-man teams then take on the 5th stage, and if they clear it, they pass the second selection. The losing teams drop back 1 stage. Ego also explains that the unpicked player from a losing 2-man team is disqualified. He calls this part the rivalry battle, where teams can steal rivals but matches require mutual agreement to play. Afterward, Ego announces the new rankings, and Isagi is now 15th. Rin then tells everyone that everything he does is with the goal of getting onto the national team. Afterward, both teams step onto the small field and get ready for the 3 vs 3 match, and soon the game starts with everyone focused. Bakira takes the ball right away and runs forward, sliding past Tokumitsu with quick steps, but Rin suddenly comes in front of him, so Bakira quickly passes the ball over to Nagi. Just then, Aryu appears out of nowhere like a ghost and tries to block Nagi, but Nagi calmly passes the ball to Isagi instead. Isagi takes the chance and kicks a direct shot, and the ball flies straight into the goal, giving them the first point. After scoring, Isagi says that all of them are playing as if their lives are on the line, and just like that, he knows Itoshur is also playing soccer to make his own dream real. But Itoshur answers that it is not about dreams for him, and that losing to someone feels the same as dying, because soccer to him is no game but a fight where only one can win. With those words hanging in the air, the match keeps going and Isagi's team pushes forward again with another attack. Bakira passes to Nagi again, but this time Aryu jumps in front and reaches the ball before Nagi can touch it. Airyu sends it to Tokumitsu, who struggles to hold it and quickly throws it back to Airyu, yet Isagi cuts in and takes the ball, only for Airyu to twist in and somehow hit it, scoring even though Isagi tried to shield it. After that, Isagi asks Bakira how they should attack, and Bakira says that if passes can't reach Nagi, then he will just go himself. Bakira rushes forward and slips past Tokumitsu, but Tokumitsu chases him like a zombie and manages to stop him in a one-on-one. Then, going wild, Tokumitsu uses pure muscle strength and forces a goal. Now Rin's team has 3 points while Isagi's team only has 1, and Isagi starts to wonder if they are going to lose. But Nagi tells him that he will make things more interesting next. Isagi realizes Nagi cannot move freely because Airyu is blocking him, and Bakira's dribbling is shut down by Tokumitsu. If they keep playing straight against them, they will lose, so Team White decides to stay close together in a 15-meter triangle. Their plan is to slowly wear them down with Nagi and Isagi passing the ball right away instead of holding it. Isagi then makes a run toward the goal, but Rin quickly notices the spot where Isagi wants to shoot and Bakira also gets stopped, while Tokumitsu comes after him. Isagi quickly passes to Nagi, who then shoots and scores. Afterward, Rin starts the next round and takes a shot at the goal, but Isagi blocks it with his face. Rin then gets a free kick and strikes a sharp vertical shot. The game keeps going, and Rin steals the ball from Isagi, runs forward, and scores again, which gives his team the win. After the match, Rin tells Bakira to join them because his passes are amazing, and Bakira agrees, telling Isagi that if he really wants him back, then he should come and take him. Afterward, Isagi and Nagi walk into the second stage room and quickly realize that this round is all about testing their individual skills. Isagi thinks to himself that if they lose the next game, the others will definitely choose Nagi, while nobody would ever pick him. Hearing this, Nagi gets frustrated and grabs Isagi by the hair, demanding to know what he is supposed to do when Isagi is acting like that. However, Nagi reminds him that he joined up with Isagi because he believed Isagi would make him stronger, so he can't stand seeing him being so negative. He says Isagi has to do better, because even Mikage wouldn't complain the way he is right now. Meanwhile, the second selection begins on smaller fields with fewer players, which means that individual skills now have an even bigger impact on the game. Isagi realizes that this is why their team play wasn't working earlier, and that the real key to surviving the second selection is winning in one-on-one battles. A few moments later, Barou enters their room and Isagi instantly understands that in order to survive, he will have to beat Barou. Barou scans the room with a cold look, wondering if there is anyone strong enough to face him. Later, Naruhaya enters the room as well and explains that the rules say they have to wait 24 hours before choosing their next match. Isagi is shocked to see Naruhaya teaming up with Barou, and Naruhaya confirms it, adding that their third teammate was Hajime Nishioka. However, he explains that Barou managed to score 4 goals, but the other team scored 5 first, which led to their loss. Later on, Isagi spends time training with the Blue Lockman to sharpen his skills. Isagi notices that his skills are improving, but he realizes that to face other monsters who can create chances by winning one-on-one, he also needs to move forward and gain the same kind of ability. Later, Isagi and Nagi start training one-on-one, but Nagi easily shuts down Isagi's moves. Isagi tells Nagi about Barou's main weapon, but Nagi answers that he can't play like that just to help Isagi train. Even without a clear plan, Isagi says that the only way to truly beat Barou is to face him directly in a real match and figure it out there. However, the two of them agree that they need to find individual strength strong enough to defeat Barou, and at first Nagi will try to cover him. Isagi starts off with the ball and goes up against Naruhaya, thinking that if he can beat him, then they might actually have a chance against their team. Barou rushes toward him, saying that with such a sloppy pass there's no way they can get past him. Since Naruhaya has played with Isagi before, he already knows what Isagi can and can't do, and he understands that Isagi isn't the type of player who can fight alone and score by himself. However, Isagi thinks about how he has only survived this far because of the support of others, and he realizes that both he and Naruhaya are just average compared to the real monsters. Feeling annoyed, Isagi passes the ball to Nagi, but Naruhaya quickly intercepts it, and the ball lands right at Barou's feet. Barou charges forward, and Isagi locks all his focus on him, but then Barou suddenly passes the ball over to Naruhaya instead. However, Barou tells him to pass it back, but Naruhaya refuses, saying that he wants to catch up to the geniuses and won't just play as someone's pawn. Isagi remembers that Naruhaya's main weapon is sneaking in from behind, so he chases after him, but no matter how hard he pushes, he can't stop him. Afterward, Nagi passes the ball to Isagi but Naruhaya appears in front of him, saying he wants to beat him. Isagi wonders if he doesn't have a weapon that he can use in one-on-one situations that would put him in level of Nagi and Barou, but he has to find what he lacks during the game. Afterward, the match continues and Isagi tries 2-on-1 passes and to then outrun Naruhaya, but Naruhaya catches up. Isagi passes to Nagi again, and Nagi manages to score. After that, Naruhaya gets the ball, but when he gets close to the goalkeeper, he freezes up because of Nagi. Barou shows up and tells him to pass, and then Barou scores the goal. Soon after, Isagi gets the ball again, but Naruhaya jumps in front of him, and Isagi realizes Naruhaya is always looking for his blind spot. Remembering what Rin once said, Isagi starts to piece together the new jigsaw he needs. The score is now tied, and the next goal will decide the winner. At this point, there is a flashback showing Naruhaya's life, how he lost his parents and how he dreams of becoming a pro player to earn money and give his family a better life. Back in the present, Nagi stands near the goal on defense while Barou takes a free kick. Barou fakes with his right but kicks left instead, yet the blue lock keeper blocks it, and both Isagi and Naruhaya sprint for the rebound. Naruhaya tries to copy Isagi's direct shot and fires, but the ball smashes into the pole and Nagi picks it up. Isagi runs forward with Barou moving alongside him for cover. While running, Isagi realizes that until now he has ignored the eyes of the players without the ball. As Barou focuses on Nagi, Isagi suddenly changes direction and cuts behind Barou. Barou sees him and shifts his weight to react, but in that instant Isagi switches direction again. Nagi notices how Isagi breaks free from Barou and passes the ball to him. Naruhaya realizes that Isagi is using sharp footwork, and then Isagi takes a direct shot, scoring and winning the match. After the loss, Naruhaya breaks down and admits that Isagi is not just some average guy, while Isagi turns to Barou and asks him to join his team. One day earlier, Kunigami and Chidori discuss who should be their third player. Chidori says they need someone who can match their skills and also pass well. They then spot Mikage sitting and sulking, and Chidori figures it must be because Nagi left him. Afterward, while everyone else is asleep, Nagi and Isagi go back to practice and find Barou already there, training like a beast. Isagi decides to join him, and the two start working on their leg strength, with Nagi also joining in. Meanwhile, in a meeting, Anri explains that during the second selection, players improve in relationships, self-awareness, and understanding others. She says each player has to think for themselves to make their team play, and this will help them grow into strikers unlike any other. One of the men then points out that there are still operational costs and that making money is also necessary to some extent. Ego asks everyone what true talent is, and he wonders if it is a natural gift you are born with or having a strong body. He says those things only make someone a diamond in the rough, and that real talent is the skill to prove your own ability. Afterward, Isagi and Nagi return to their room and see Barou asleep with the whole place cleaned up. The next day, while eating, Isagi asks Barou about his ideal playstyle. Barou says he just wants them to pass the ball so he can score, but Isagi tells him that selfishness is exactly why his team lost before. He explains that they need to play as a team, using each other's weapons to win. Later, when Isagi goes to shower, he finds Chidori and Kunigami making out. Nagi also shows up there and runs into Mikage, but Mikage ignores him and says that since Nagi didn't choose him, he plans to crush him. Later, Isagi, Nagi, and Barou sit together on the training ground. Isagi points out that their weapons are Nagi's first touch, Barou's dribbling, and his own direct shot, but that also means they are missing one thing, which is speed. Because of this, he says he wants Chidori to join them so they can take on Itoshi's team again. Barou argues that what they really need is someone strong at hold-up play, so they can pass the ball to him, and he says Kunigami would be best since he is good at keeping the ball. Isagi agrees, noting that with Kunigami the ball would stay up front longer. Nagi then adds that he thinks Mikage will be chosen, since he promised him before that they would play together again. Meanwhile, Kunigami, Mikage, and Chidori make their own plan. After some time, Isagi's team faces off against Kunigami's team. Barou takes the ball and charges toward the goal, but the other team knows he won't pass, so they double-team him and Mikage steals the ball. Then Mikage and Kunigami go after Isagi, who is left alone. Mikage sends the ball to Chidori, and Chidori instantly scores a goal. Afterward, Isagi gets the ball again and notices he can now read each player's movements more clearly than before. He passes to Barou, and at the same time realizes Mikage will chase him, so he shifts his weight, dodges, and turns to push toward the goal. But Barou ignores him and refuses to pass. Because of that, Kunigami steals the ball and scores, giving his team a 2-point lead. Right after, Nagi snaps at Barou, yelling at him for ignoring Isagi. Afterward, Nagi takes the ball and sprints past Chidori, who comes at him with full speed, but Nagi still manages to score for the team. Even with the goal, Isagi notices that Barou's drive is still missing, so he goes to speak with him. Isagi tells Barou that right now he doesn't smell any goals from him, and his play needs to create chances for both Nagi and himself if they want to bring out the best in each other. But Barou replies that he only wins through his own goals and would rather die than play for someone else. This makes Isagi angry, and he yells that the reason he teamed up with Barou was because he knew Barou could be much greater, but Barou refuses to listen and storms off in anger. Afterward, Mikage steals the ball from Isagi and passes it to Chidori. Nagi faces Chidori, but Chidori quickly sends the ball back to Mikage, who goes for a shot. Isagi chases him down, but Kunigami shoves Isagi aside, and Mikage scores with a header. Isagi then thinks about everything as Barou, their past matches, and it feels like his ego finally awakens. He tells Nagi that the two of them are going to win this. Isagi then dribbles forward, acting like he will pass to Barou, but instead he sends the ball to Nagi. Barou runs along the side, calling for the ball, but Kunigami marks him tightly. Nagi then notices that everyone is focused on his moves, but from his view, in the open space only he can see, Isagi is waiting to appear from a blind spot. Nagi says he has been keeping his eyes on Isagi and passes to him. Isagi scores, cutting the red team's lead down to 3-2. As the match continues, Nagi goes wild and plays like a maniac, scoring another goal to tie the game at 3-3. Afterward, Barou gets angry about being pushed to his knees and remembers his childhood, when everyone supported him and stayed happy to cheer for him. Because of that, he gave up on everything else and chose to follow only his own style of soccer. Back in the present, Nagi and Isagi move together, but Barou suddenly appears, steals the ball, and takes a shot, only for it to crash into the post. Kunigami rushes in to take the rebound, but Nagi blocks him and makes it hard to shoot. Nagi then passes to Mikage, but Isagi steps in, the ball comes loose, and it rolls straight toward Barou. However, Chidori quickly catches up to Barou, leaving him unsure whether to shoot from too far out or not. Just then, Isagi shows up and tells him to pass, so Barou sends the ball to him with his first touch. Isagi goes one-on-one with the keeper, takes the shot, and scores. After that, Barou feels down, thinking he lost to Isagi and is no longer the king. Later, Nagi and Isagi make a plan together and Nagi asks if they should tell Barou, but Isagi says it's useless to explain to him. The match goes on as Chidori moves while Isagi blocks Mikage and cuts off some of the passing lanes toward him. Mikage notices that the path to Kunigami is wide open but also sees that Isagi and Nagi don't seem to care about it. Wanting to connect with Chidori but pressured too tightly, Mikage decides to pass to Kunigami instead. However, the moment he does, Nagi suddenly runs the other way, aiming straight for the ball. Mikage realizes that since Nagi can't outrun Chidori, he is actually trying to intercept the pass himself. Isagi then praises Mikage for the good pass and explains that this was exactly what they had been waiting for. Afterward, the ball comes loose, and Barou takes it. He realizes that if he passes to one of his teammates, they can win, but instead he pulls off a chop feint, dribbles forward, and even uses Isagi's movement to disguise his next step. Barou then scores like a true devil lord, and everyone calls him the real king as Isagi's team wins the match. Tairi is amazed by Barou's talent and wonders if his awakening was part of Igo's plan, but Igo says it wasn't and that it was all Barou's own doing. Igo explains that defeat is something that must always exist in competition, and even the best striker cannot win every game. Afterward, everyone thinks about who they should add to the team. Barou says Kunigami would be a good fit, but Nagi argues that Mikage would be better since he could balance both attack and defense, and Barou agrees with him. Isagi, however, says that this choice could crush all of their growth, because he believes the right answer is to build a balanced team, and in his eyes, Chidori is the only one who can join their chemical reaction without fading away. Nagi then tells Mikage that their last play only worked because it was against him, since they already knew how skilled he was and that he could pull off an impossible pass. Nagi tells Mikage that he really is amazing, which makes Mikage wonder why they still don't choose him. Nagi then asks if Mikage would truly be satisfied if he picked him now, saying that while they could be a team, it would not be exciting. He reminds Mikage that becoming the best in the world is not easy and that it is Mikage who forgot the promise they once made. Later, Isagi and Barou eat steak together, but Isagi notices Barou is quiet and wonders why. Barou finally asks what kind of soccer Isagi plays, and Isagi explains that his weapons are his spatial awareness and his direct shot. Afterward, Isagi and Barou talk casually with each other, but when they return to their room, they find Nagi and Chidori making a mess and kicking a shoe around like a soccer ball. Meanwhile, Bakira and Rin are training together, and Rin tells Bakira that his half-baked ego does not excite him. Then, a flashback shows Bakira as a kid who loved soccer so much that he played anywhere he could. One day, he discovered his inner monster and started playing alongside it, with the monster guiding him during matches. As he grew older, Bakira received the Blue Lock invitation and his mother encouraged him to go. Afterward, Bakira and his team walk onto the field to face Isagi and his team. When Aryu notices Chidori's long hair, he starts acting playful and asks what products he uses since his hair looks so beautiful. Soon the match begins, and Rin passes the ball to Bakira, who then comes face to face with Isagi. Bakira uses his ultra-fast scissors move and charges forward, but this time he cannot shake Isagi off the way he used to before. With Isagi still blocking him, Bakira takes a gamble and rushes toward Nagi, but Barou suddenly appears from behind. Bakira quickly passes to his crybaby teammate, yet Isagi steps in and blocks the pass. Isagi passes the ball to Nagi, but Nagi notices that Rin doesn't come forward to pressure him. Rin knows about Nagi's first touch, so he keeps his distance, ready to react instead. Since Rin has already adapted well to his moves, Nagi uses his first touch to pass to Chidori. Rin and Aryu rush for the ball, but Chidori's speed lets him reach it first, and he scores. Bakira is amazed at the strong link-up play they created to break through. After that, Bakira gets the ball again and sends a no-look pass to Aryu. Aryu quickly passes to Tokimitsu, who then passes to Rin because facing Barou makes Tokimitsu nervous, so Rin pushes forward and runs past Isagi, and scores a goal for his team. Afterward, Nagi wonders how they could even stop a play like that. Isagi explains that in the last attack, Rin placed himself so he could receive the ball right in his shooting range, and they lost control because they were only thinking about how to react to him. The game goes on, and Chidori takes the ball, but Aryu quickly steps in front of him. Chidori then passes to Isagi, yet Rin reads the play and steals the ball. Rin passes the ball to Bakira, who drives it toward the goal and takes a shot as Aryu, Chidori, and Nagi all rush in. Aryu gets to it first and scores. This time, Nagi feels more determined than ever to beat them as he thinks about Mikage. He takes the ball and passes to Chidori, but instead of sending it to Isagi or Barou, he pushes forward himself and comes face to face with Rin. Nagi then passes to Isagi, and as he keeps running, Isagi quickly sends it back, letting Nagi score. Meanwhile, Anri calls Nagi's attack miraculous, but Ego tells her she is average for thinking that way. On the field, Isagi realizes that with Nagi by his side he can take on Rin directly, but since that won't help him become the best striker in the world, he decides he has to beat Rin himself. The game starts again, and Rin sends a pass to Tokimitsu. Barou thinks he will reach it first, but the ball has backspin, and when it bounces, it turns toward Tokimitsu, who takes control and holds it. Rin moves into a better spot, and Tokimitsu passes the ball to him. As soon as Rin gets it, he quickly sends a pass forward, and Aryu runs for it. Chidori catches up to challenge him, but Aryu passes back to Rin, who prepares to shoot. Nagi tries to stop him with his feint, but it doesn't work, and Rin pushes ahead until Isagi takes the ball from him. Right after, Bakira gets possession, shoots, and scores. Chidori and Nagi then realize that Rin is the one controlling everyone on the field, no matter if they are friends or foe. The game starts again, and Isagi quickly notices that Bakira and Rin have swapped their places on the field. He sends the ball over to Chidori, who bursts out with his speed and runs past Aryu, but right then Itoshir steps in and stops him. However, Chidori has no choice but to kick the ball to Nagi instead. At the same time, Isagi waits for a chance, slipping into Bakira's blind spot and suddenly changing his direction to open. Nagi sees this and right away passes the ball to him, and for a moment Isagi thinks he has already gotten past their defense. But just then, Rin shows up right in front of him and cuts him off. At that moment, Barou comes rushing in like a wild lion, steals the ball out of nowhere and blasts in a goal for his team. Afterward, the match starts again, and Isagi quickly calls out to Chidori, telling him to crush their opponents with his pressing play. Chidori listens and bursts forward, using his great speed to put heavy pressure on while setting up a 2-on-1 attack against Bakira. Isagi suddenly shows up in front of Bakira to block him, but even with both of them pressing, Bakira still manages to slip past and keep going with the ball. Right then, Barou rushes in at full speed and snatches the ball away from him. Barou dashes down the field as fast as he can, but before he can push too far, Rin steps in, cuts across, and sends the ball flying out of play with a powerful kick. Isagi notices that Chidori and the others on his team are beginning to look worn out from running so much. He realizes that if they keep playing at this fast tempo for too long, the sharpness of their passes and even the quickness of their first moves will start to drop. As the game goes on, Rin and Tokimitsu keep sending the ball back and forth between each other, trying to hold control. When Tokimitsu is about to make another pass, both Chidori and Barou charge at him together, tackling him roughly, and they get a yellow card for the foul. Afterward, the game starts again and Isagi runs right behind Barou, which makes Barou think for a moment that maybe Isagi means he has to beat Tokimitsu. Barou then uses his own move to get past Tokimitsu, but Tokimitsu doesn't give up and keeps chasing him down. While Barou and Tokimitsu are busy arguing as they run, Isagi takes the chance to rush past them, but Bakira shows up in front of him and blocks the way. Isagi then thinks that everyone on the field is already expecting what his next play will be, so he decides to do something different to change that. He passes the ball over to Chidori and then sprints diagonally toward the near post to set himself up. When the ball comes back to him, Rin reacts quickly and jumps in front to block what looks like a direct shot. But Isagi has already planned for that, and instead of going for a normal kick, he surprises everyone by hitting a reverse backheel shot and scores the goal. Everyone is shocked at what just happened and Nagi turns to Isagi and tells him that he managed to outrun Rin all by himself. Isagi shakes his head and says that it was not just luck, because he had already expected that Rin would try to block him from the start. At the same time, Bakira is thinking to himself, wondering what piece of ego he is missing and what it is that he still needs in order to catch up to both Isagi and Rin on the field. Rin then looks at his teammates and tells them to put absolutely everything they have into the next play, saying that he will be the one to create a goal. After that, the game goes on again and Rin sends a high ball straight toward Aryu. However, Aryu catches it and then passes over to Bakira, but he feels lost for a moment and wonders what he is supposed to do next. Before he can make a choice, Chidori charges in with his speed and steals the ball right away. Afterward, Bakira hears his inner voice talking to him, and he quickly moves in to press against Isagi's ball, but the ball rolls over to Chidori instead. Chidori makes a pass to Nagi, and then Isagi takes the shot at the goal, but Rin rushes in and blocks it at the last second. Right after that, Bakira ends up with the ball again, but he still cannot shake off his old habit of always looking for the monster, since he has always relied on that feeling to guide him. Both Isagi and Bakira start going crazy in the heat of the game, pushing themselves harder and harder, and Bakira suddenly breaks out into a solo run on his own. He drives the ball forward with speed, but soon he gets surrounded from all sides by the defenders, and Rin shows up in front of him again. However, Bakira lifts the ball onto the back of his neck and then lets it drop behind him, and right away he swings his heel to kick it forward and keep it moving ahead. When he runs past Nagi, Nagi tries hard to block him and stop the play, but Bakira slips out of his reach and keeps control of the ball. In his mind, he thanks the monster for staying with him this whole time and then he says goodbye. Just as Bakira takes his shot toward the goal, Isagi jumps in at the last second and blocks it. Afterward, Rin gets the ball and he immediately scores a goal and wins the match, and Isagi couldn't believe his defeat. Rin then selects Isagi to join him as Rin wants to defeat Isagi someday. Isagi wonders why he got chosen and wonders if he is still bad. Before leaving, Rin apologizes to Nagi and others, saying the last goal was pure luck, but Chidori tells him to shut up as Rin chose him and that's the reality, and then, Nagi and Barou also get angry at Isagi. On their way back, Bakira tells Isagi that he was afraid of playing soccer alone, but now that he fought alone, he knows that the only one who can save him is him. Afterward, Isagi asks Rin how he had surpassed him in order to understand, but Rin answers it was simply luck. Just then, Ego appears on screen, and as a reward for them winning, he says that luck is not just coincidental but an element they can utilize, noting how Rin took the chance of running to where he believed the ball might land when it could have been anywhere. Isagi wonders if Rin knew all of this, who states that not all Ego says was true since he also had the option of passing up the chance to score. Itoshire knows that the situation was created by Isagi and Itoshire didn't anticipate it or control it. Ego announces that their team will now be going up against the World 5, introducing the lineup as Spain's Leonardo Luna, England's Adam Blake, Argentina's Pablo Cabassos, Brazil's Dada Silva, and France's prodigy Julian Loki. Later, during practice, Isagi takes the chance to ask Rin about his older brother, and Rin explains that the two of them are not enemies who hate each other but instead rivals who are always competing to be better. When the kickoff finally begins, Bakira rushes forward with the ball, skillfully dribbling right past Cabassos, and then he passes it to Rin, who wastes no time and scores the very first goal against the powerful World 5. After that, the match starts again and Julian looks at Isagi, asking him if he is really fine since all he has are weak spots, and right after saying that, he dashes past him in a flash. Rin steps in and tells Julian that his movement is too easy to read, but Julian suddenly bursts forward even faster and manages to score a goal. The game kicks off once more and this time Rin carries the ball, but Luna appears and steals it away, quickly sending a pass toward his teammate Cabassos. When Aryu notices this, he runs at full speed to chase after Cabassos, yet another player from their side, Silva, blocks Aryu's path and the ball is then passed along to Blake, who finishes the play by scoring another goal. At the same time, during a JFU meeting, the members are shocked when they learn that Ego is spending millions of yen to bring in these world-class players and is also giving them extra bonuses for every goal they score. Because of all the complaints coming in from outside, JFU advisor Buritsuda announces that the Blue Lock project will be cancelled, but Ego tells them that he will prove everything by showing clear results. Afterward, Isagi and the others are informed that the second selection has officially ended, and everyone who made it through is told to put on their uniforms and head over to the large central joint room. Soon, the second group of players arrives, and this team includes Nagi, Barou, Chijiri, and a few others who passed. When Nagi sees Isagi, he wonders to himself why Isagi looks so relieved, thinking that maybe Isagi had believed they were not going to make it. After them, the third group of players comes in, and this team is filled with all sorts of strange and unusual players who give off a weird vibe. Finally, after that, the last remaining team also shows up and enters the room. However, Isagi and Chijiri wonder if there is last person remaining, and that might be Kunigami, but a chicken head guy shows up named Shido Ryusei. Isagi asks Mikage about Kunigami, so he tells him that they lost and Mikage was chosen, but Isagi couldn't believe it, so Ryusei tells Isagi that he was the one who eliminated him. He then turns around and tries to kick Isagi, but Chijiri quickly steps in and saves him from the attack, while Bakira laughs and makes fun of him by calling him a chicken head. Right after that, Ego speaks up and tells everyone about a big change in the next selection stage, announcing that they will now have to play a match against Japan's official U-20 team, which also includes Rin's older brother, Sae. Ego explains that if Blue Lock loses this match, the entire program will be shut down for good, but if they manage to win, then they will be able to take over and replace the U-20 players' positions on the national team. Afterward, a flashback shows Rin being challenged by his brother Sae, who tells him that if Rin manages to win, then the dream they once shared together will completely come to an end. Rin at first doesn't want to go against him, but Sae forces the match to happen, and the two of them begin playing. Back in the present, Ego announces that their big match will take place in 3 weeks. Isagi starts thinking about his own past, remembering how he used to be just a complete nobody before being chosen, and how he proved himself, and now he has to win this game to represent Japan. Ego then goes on to reveal the top 6 ranked players, naming Rin, Shido, Tabito Karasu, Ida Otoya, Kenyu Yukimiya, and finally Nagi. He explains that 3 different teams will now be formed, each based on a pair chosen from the top 6 players, along with the selection of the remaining finalists. In this new rotational match format, 3 other players will temporarily join one of the pairs and face off against another group, and the purpose of this test is to figure out which players can work together and create the best teamwork. Since Bakira finished as the runner-up, he is given the chance to play twice in these matches. The results will decide who earns the spots for the final team. Later on, the members of the old Team Z gather for a small reunion in the cafeteria, where everyone talks and asks each other about who they want to team up with. When it becomes Isagi's turn to answer, he feels unsure, but Bakira says that for Isagi it will come down to either Rin or Nagi. Meanwhile, on the other side, Rin and Shido get into a fight with each other because neither of them wants to be teammates, but Ego steps in quickly and stops their argument. Later on, Isagi and Mikage sit together watching some recorded matches that are being analyzed, and during the discussion Mikage tells Isagi that Nagi is already moving ahead to a level that he himself will not be able to reach anytime soon. The very next day, all of the players gather in the big hall to find out the final selections for the upcoming teams, and when the names are revealed, Isagi discovers that he has been placed in a group alongside 2 complete lunatics, which leaves him both shocked and uneasy about what lies ahead. Afterward, it is officially announced that the very first match before the U-20 game will be a face-off between Team A and Team B, and 3 players from each side are chosen at random to take part. On one side, Rin and Shido are teamed up with Nijiro Nanes, Yo Hyori, and Isagi, while on the other side they face Chijiri and some other players. Once the lineups are revealed, everyone returns to the field, and the match between the 2 teams finally kicks off. Right at the start, Rin sends a quick pass over to Shido, but Shido gets surrounded and tightly guarded by several fast defenders, leaving him unable to shoot. Seeing this, Isagi calls out and tells Shido to pass the ball to him instead, and when Shido does, Isagi immediately redirects the ball with a sharp pass back to Rin. Afterward, Isagi and Rin sprint together toward the goal, and when Rin finds himself getting trapped by defenders, he quickly passes the ball over to Isagi so the play can keep moving forward. However, Isagi also gets blocked by opponents and has no choice but to send the ball back to Rin again, but just then Chijiri suddenly appears out of nowhere to intercept. At that exact moment, Shido bursts forward with his incredible speed, rushing straight toward the ball before anyone else can react. Watching this, Isagi thinks to himself that Shido will end up surrounded very soon, so the best choice is to run ahead and try linking up with him, because if Shido decides to pass, Isagi could take the shot and score. But instead of passing, Shido shocks everyone by pulling off a flashy backheel shot, and he scores the goal. Afterward, Karasu grabs the ball and manages to score his team's very first point. On the following play, Karasu gets pressured and cornered, so he quickly passes over to Otoya, who slips in behind everyone and pushes through to score. Then on the next attack, Rin ignores all of his teammates and curves a shot on his own to grab a second point. After seeing this, the rest of the players realize they need to fight harder if they want to be counted among the top 4. Chidori shows off his blazing speed, which even leaves Karasu impressed, and Karasu sends the ball to him. Chidori rushes forward, dodges past Rin, and then passes it to Otoya, who finishes the play and gets a third point. Later, Hayuri sends a pass over to Rin but Shido crashes into him and knocks the ball loose. Chidori quickly picks it up and passes to Otoya, who then feeds it to Karasu, and Karasu scores the 4th goal for his team. While watching Rin and Shido constantly clash with each other, Isagi realizes that their lack of teamwork and their constant fighting can actually be turned into a chance for him to gain an advantage. Afterward, Shido kicks off with the ball and quickly passes it over to Rin, who then sends it toward Hayuri, but Hayuri notices right away that Rin has gotten tangled up with Otoya and cannot break free. Seeing the situation, Isagi makes a runaway from the crowded area and calls out for Hayuri to pass the ball to him, but Karasu sprints after him and catches up, forcing Isagi to think that unless he can get past Karasu, he won't be able to make any kind of play. Out of nowhere, Nane suddenly appears nearby, since he had been too focused on carefully watching the movements of Rin and Shido until now. Realizing an opportunity, Isagi decides to use Nanes as a distraction to create space, and when Hayuri finally sends the pass toward them, Isagi makes a sharp diagonal run, slipping right through Karasu's blind spot. He manages to reach the ball and after dodging Karasu's outstretched hand, he somehow secures control of it. Isagi feels stuck because he can't decide who to pass the ball to, since Rin is also trapped and not able to move, but then Shido yells for him to give the ball, so Isagi sends it over to him. Shido shoots and scores a goal, which surprises Isagi because the shot is a spinning banana kick that he has never seen before. The game keeps going and Karasu thinks about stopping Isagi, but Rin shows up and asks him if he only goes after the weaker players, and even though Karasu tries to block the ball, when he lifts his hand to hit Rin, he moves at the perfect time and uses his elbow to knock his hand away. Out of nowhere, Isagi takes the ball away from Karasu and begins running as fast as he can straight toward the goal, but Otoya rushes in front of him to block the way, so Isagi decides to pass the ball over to Nanes. When Otoya quickly turns back and chases Nanes instead, Nanes sends the ball right back to Isagi. Isagi then figures out that Shido will most likely make a move toward Hayuri to take the ball just like he did before, and when that happens, a clear space will open right behind him, which Isagi thinks will be the perfect area for him to shoot from. However, just when he finally takes the chance and goes for the shot, he misses it at the very last second, and right after that Otoya steals the ball away from him. However, Rin manages to steal the ball from Karasu and scores a goal that Isagi couldn't get. After that, the game keeps going again, and this time Chidori makes a strong kick toward the goal, but Shido shows up right away and blocks the shot before it can go in. The ball then bounces over to Isagi's team, and they start passing it to each other as they push while Isagi searches for the empty space. However, when Hayuri finally sends a pass, both Rin and Shido rush in at the same moment trying to take it for themselves, but that is when Isagi's ego kicks in and he suddenly charges full speed at the ball. He then manages to win the match after scoring that shot. Later on, Isagi and Nane sit together watching the replay clip of the match they played earlier, and while looking at the screen Isagi explains that he made it seem like he was going one way but then suddenly stepped inside Karasu to trick him, which made the play work, but Nanes looks at him and asks if he had thought about all of that before actually moving. Isagi answers that it was all part of thinking and moving at the very same time, since both things need to happen together during the match. A moment later Hayuri joins in and admits that he honestly did not think Isagi would be able to score earlier, but then Isagi questions him back and asks why he would tell him to act and think as a reflex if he did not believe in him. However, Hayuri explains the play by comparing it to a block game, where everything starts off slow at the beginning but then the pace keeps getting faster as it goes on. Isagi also adds that at that exact moment he was able to take in all the information around him, using every weapon he had and even predicting where the next pass was going to come from. After that, the second match gets started, this time with Team A, which does not include Isagi and the others, but Rin and Shido are still playing, and they go up against Team C, which has Nagi, Mikage, and the rest of their teammates. Nagi kicks off the match by starting with the ball and quickly passing it over to Mikage, who then manages to dodge past Shido and keeps running forward right beside Nagi as they push up the field together. Just when Aryu comes in trying to stop his advance, Mikage suddenly kicks a sharp corner shot toward the goal, but Ishikari, who is known as the tallest soccer player, steps in and blocks it before it can go through. Rin takes control and passes the ball forward, and instead of choosing Shido like most players are expecting, he decides to give it to Igarashi, but almost instantly Igarashi is cut off and stopped in his tracks by Mikage, who blocks him from moving further. Out of panic and not knowing what else to do, Igarashi quickly sends the ball over to Shido, but before Shido can even take it, Gagamaru jumps in and steals the ball away, then quickly passes it back to his goalkeeper, Kenyu. Right after that, Kenyu launches a strong shot toward the goal on the other side, but Aryu manages to block it with his tall reach, and the ball ends up bouncing over to Nagi, who controls it smoothly and scores the goal right after. Match keeps going, and this time Rin breaks through the defense and scores another goal for his team, putting them ahead once more. Mikage then starts thinking back to his past and realizes deep inside that he cannot afford to lose no matter what happens, so he charges forward with everything he has and fires off an insane shot that goes straight into the goal. It is revealed afterward that the move he used was actually copied from someone else's technique. Watching this, Isagi thinks to himself that no matter how well someone copies a move, it will always end up being weaker than the true original. In the end, Nagi and Mikage's team ends up losing the game, but even then Nagi turns to Mikage and tells him honestly that his goal was amazing. Afterward, the final match begins with Rin and Shido instantly arguing and fighting over who is going to take the ball first, but in the middle of their clash Rin manages to break through and score, which makes their team win another match in a row. Right after that, Rin and Shido start fighting with each other again, pushing and yelling, but Ego presses a button and Shido suddenly gets an electric shock that stops him in his tracks. Ego then announces that it is time for him to reveal the lineup for the upcoming match against Japan's U-20 team. Meanwhile, all the players gather together in one room and sit waiting for the big announcement, and then, for the second time, Ego shows up to meet them in person. He tells them that he has built this team around the one egoist who has the highest goal average, making it clear how he decided the lineup. He then announces the 11 players chosen for the team, starting with Rin, followed by Gagamaru, whose explosive reactions and spring-like body make him a perfect fit. Next, he names Aryu, the femboy, along with Chidori and Bakira. Then he adds Karasu and Otoya, followed by Kenyu and Nagi, and finally, Isagi rounds out the lineup. Kenyu asks why Shido isn't included on the team even though he is ranked number 2, and Ego explains that since Shido didn't have any proper coordination or chemical reaction with Rin, he shouldn't be on the same field with him. Ego also reveals that he recently received a call from Buritsuda of the JFU, who said that unless a certain condition proposed by SAE is met, he will back out of the upcoming match. In simple terms, if SAE doesn't play, the match will have to be cancelled. 3 hours earlier, Shido is trapped in a cage by Ego, but SAE comes to visit him and tells him that he wants Shido's ego, so he will free him. Ego then reveals that the condition SAE proposed was to add a player of his choice from Blue Lock to the U-20 team, and SAE immediately chooses Shido over Rin. Meanwhile, at the U-20 press conference, Shudo and the others refuse to play alongside Shido and keep irritating SAE, pushing him to the limit. Finally, Shido loses his cool and slams Shudo onto the desk. He tries to kick him again, but another player suddenly appears, grabs Shido, and throws him to the ground. This new player's name is Aiku. At the same time, Rin and the rest of their team are training hard for the upcoming match against the U-20 team, and Isagi notices that he has never seen such a terrifying look on Rin's face before, something that makes him feel both nervous and amazed. Later, Ego takes another class with them and tells the players that he is going to teach them how to ignite a fire inside themselves, something he says is very important for becoming the best striker in the world. He explains that they need to reach a stage of flow, where everything comes naturally, and that the most important part of this is focusing completely on a daring challenge. Ego adds that they have to aim at an object that is extremely difficult to hit, pushing themselves to the limit if they want to succeed. Meanwhile, SAE runs into Aiku, who tells him that their star player, Sendu, and his violent teammate have gotten into another fight. SAE immediately says that they should just kick that troublemaker star player off the team, but Aiku explains that Sendu is a star player, so they can't do that. Aiku also adds that everyone is saying if Sendu is left out, they won't play, and the match will be cancelled, which is something no one wants to happen. 15 days later, everyone wakes up after intense training, and Isagi realizes that the past 15 days of practice have helped him stay calm no matter what happens. Every player trains with a clear goal in mind, focusing entirely on winning the upcoming match and improving themselves for the challenge ahead. Meanwhile, Aiku goes for a walk and comes across some news articles about Blue Lock preparing for a match against their team. As he reads, he recalls his past and remembers how he wanted to just play soccer, but his coach forced him to take on the role of captain instead, which changed the way he approached the game. Later, preparations begin for the Blue Lock Stadium, getting everything ready for the big match. Rin also thinks back to his childhood, remembering how SAE once asked him to come watch his game, and that memory gives him motivation. Back in the present, the day of the Blue Lock vs U20 match finally arrives, and everyone gathers in the massive stadium, filled with excitement and tension as they prepare for the game to start. 15 minutes before the match begins, Isagi and the others wear the Blue Lock kit for the very first time, feeling the weight of the moment as they see themselves dressed as a real team ready for battle. Shortly after, Ego arrives in the room and carefully explains the U20 team's formation, telling them in detail how the opponents are going to line up and what to expect once the game starts. Later, Isagi steps outside and comes across some of the U20 players, immediately noticing the confident and almost intimidating aura they give off. Not long after, Rin arrives as well, and the instant his eyes find SAE, he glares at him with such a sharp and deadly look that it feels as if he wants nothing more than to tear him apart right there on the spot. After that, both teams take their positions on the field, and Isagi can't help but keep staring at the enormous crowd and the massive stadium. Isagi thinks that he have come so far and he has to become immersed in the battle, but then, Rin slaps him, asking what he is scared of. Afterward, the match finally begins and the main attackers for the Blue Lock team are Rin, Isagi, and Nagi. Earlier, Ego had told them to use the special super all-out attack Blue Lock system, which focuses everything on offense. As the game kicks off, Isagi passes the ball over to Bakira, who immediately charges forward and goes up against Haru from the U20 team. Bakira then pulls out his double feint technique, quickly tricking Haru and rushing right past him, leaving Haru shocked at how easily he was beaten. Right after that, Bakira sends the ball toward Isagi, but Aika leaps high into the air and manages to intercept it before it can reach him. Afterward, Isagi quickly realizes that they won't be able to push straight through the middle, so their best chance is to try getting in behind the defense instead. At that moment, Otoya makes a run down the right wing and manages to break forward, but Miroku from the U20 team immediately senses the move and steps in to block him, cutting off his path. Otoya then notices that Miroku is actually reading his movements and anticipating exactly where he wants to place himself in the background, making it almost impossible to slip by. Seeing this unfold, Isagi understands that Otoya can't get past him, so he quickly changes the play and sends the ball over to Yukimiya Kenyu instead. Suddenly, Teppei steps in and blocks Kenyu, but Kenyu quickly uses his skillful techniques to slip past him and keep moving forward. Even so, Teppei doesn't give up and manages to catch up again, putting pressure on him, but Kenyu swings his leg and strikes the ball with lightning speed. The shot doesn't make it through, and the ball ends up going to Nagi, who tries to take control, but right away he is confronted by Kazuma, a player who is physically massive and hard to push away. Just then, Aiku rushes in and steals the ball cleanly from Nagi before sending a sharp pass over to SAE. Out of nowhere, Chidori sprints after SAE, but SAE reacts instantly and launches a long pass of more than 50 meters to Kento. Kento controls it and quickly sends it to Kitsune, while SAE makes his run forward, setting up an attack pattern that looks dangerous and could end in a goal. Chidori and Nico rush in to block him, but SAE doesn't hesitate, he passes the ball to Shudo. Shudo fires off a shot at the goal, but Gagamaru leaps and manages to stop it. The ball bounces back into play and in that split second, SAE charges in, strikes it again and this time the ball goes into the net for a goal. Seeing that goal, the whole stadium erupts and starts chanting SAE's name, praising him as the one leading the game. But Rin turns to Isagi and tells him to watch closely because in the next 90 minutes, he'll turn those cheers into his own. The match goes on, with Rin passing the ball to Isagi. Isagi sends it right back, but Itsuki steps in front of Rin. Rin quickly passes again to Isagi and then jogs forward. They keep passing back and forth, slowly advancing together while moving up the field. Suddenly, the ball goes to Bakira, who was waiting just behind them. He quickly passes to Rin, and Ego notes that Rin's awakening might be the key to victory. Rin pushes forward, aiming to score in the same way SAE did, but the goalkeeper blocks his shot. The rebound falls to the player with glasses, and Isagi rushes in to link up with him. Together, they push forward, and the glasses-faced player takes a shot but Aiku intercepts and saves it. The ball then bounces back to Nagi, who uses a lift tap, leaps into the air and scores. Meanwhile, Anri wonders why they're suddenly playing so much better when they had been struggling before. Ego explains that their players know how to handle the real thing, and the improvisation skills they nurtured during the selections are now coming into play. On the field, Isagi reflects that any of his teammates could have scored that goal, given how sharp their shooting has become. What made it possible was their ability to disrupt the opponent's formation, use their weapons just as they had practiced, and take advantage of the opening Rin created for them. Isagi approaches Rin, but Rin's response is cold. He accuses Isagi of following him around like goldfish waste in midfield, only to let his ego take over and go for the goal himself once inside the box. The game resumes with the score tied 1-1 and SAE finally gets the ball, but Rin immediately challenges him, declaring that 30 minutes into the first half, this is the match where he'll finally surpass him. The two clash fiercely, each trying to strip the ball away, but SAE spins around and tells Rin that as long as he keeps acting like the younger brother, he'll never surpass him. Meanwhile, Nico wakes up his ego while thinking about his past, and he starts looking closely at every player who is working together with SAE. After watching them, he figures out that it is actually a trap, because by pulling him out, they want to break apart his team's formation and then fix theirs right after. Nico then kicks the ball and it goes to Karasu, but when everyone runs toward him, he quickly passes it over to Otoya. Just then, Miroku shows up in front of him, and the two of them start clashing hard against each other, and when things begin to look really serious, Aiku comes in to cover him. However, Otoya sends the ball over to the fastest runner in Blue Lock, Chijiri. Using his speed, Chijiri dodges past Aiku and keeps charging straight toward the goal, and at that moment it looks like his ego is finally awakened. As he sprints forward, he sees Karasu running right beside him, so he decides to pass the ball in his direction. But right when the pass is made, SAE suddenly shows up out of nowhere and kicks the ball away. Yet before the U-20 players can react, Rin shoots the ball from a far distance with perfect accuracy, and the shot curves into the goal, allowing him to score. SAE blames Sendu for missing the goal and tells him to score a goal, as if they lose, U-20 will be taken over by them. Now that there is a little time left in the first half and the game continues, Isagi realizes that U-20 is putting more man for attack. The ball is now with the members of Team U-20, and they try to take a shot, but Nico shows up just in time and his tackle slows the ball down, which makes it easy for Gagamaru to block it. After that, SAE takes control of the ball, and both Isagi and Bakira go up against him. He quickly changes his position, slips right between them, and makes a long pass all the way towards Sendu. But before it can reach him, Rin rushes in like an egoistic maniac and hits the ball, yet it bounces back to SAE again. SAE then almost manages to score, but Aryu stretches his leg out at the last second and blocks it. Meanwhile, Isagi's parents and Bakira's mother sit in the stands, cheering as loud as they can for their sons on the field. At the same time, Chijiri's older sister, who looks really beautiful, is also watching, and Otoya can't stop staring at her. He leans closer to Chijiri and asks who that cute girl is, and Chijiri calmly replies that she is his big sister. On the other hand, Buritsuda is completely losing his temper with the U-20's manager, yelling at him that they absolutely have to win this game no matter what happens. When the break comes, Team Blue Lock gathers inside the locker room, full of energy and motivation, believing that they are going to take the win. At that moment, Anri and Ego walk in to join them. Ego looks at the players and asks how they managed to score those goals, then explains that Rin had a breakthrough that only worked because of Isagi's support. He tells them that by playing closer together than they had practiced, and by keeping Isagi near Rin most of the time, Rin was able to gain many more options on the field. Ego then turns to Rin and asks why he decided to play that way, and Rin replies that it was the only method to break through U-20's four-man defense, and that Isagi fit the role of sacrifice without any problem. After that, Ego turns to Isagi and asks what he thinks about being used as a sacrifice, but Isagi replies with confidence that he is going to score a goal himself. Ego then tells everyone that in the first half, their egos guided them on how to score and push forward, but in the second half things is going to change in a very different way. On the other side, Team U-20 is wondering what they should do in the second half, and some of the players ask SAE if they should change their formation a little. But SAE coldly tells them to do whatever they want because he is leaving. He reminds them that those were the terms of his bet with Aiku. Just as SAE is about to walk out, Aiku stops him and tells everyone straight up that they are weak. Shidu also speaks up, telling SAE to stay with them, because they are going to go wild and play like crazy in the second half. After that, a flashback shows up about Rin and SAE, where SAE tells his younger brother that he will be leaving for Spain the very next day to join an academy connected to the strongest soccer club in the world called Royale. SAE tells Rin not to give up on his dream, saying that the two of them will become the best together. But sometime later, SAE comes back and tells Rin that he has changed his own dream, and now he wants to become the best midfielder in the world. Rin refuses to accept that, saying that he is the best striker in the world, so he cannot just switch to being a midfielder. Sae then tells Rin that if he can beat him 1-on-1, he will share the same dream with him again. They play a match against each other, but Rin ends up losing, and Sae calls him a loser. Back in the present, Isagi and Rin walk into the stadium and they see Shido already waiting there. Afterward, the second half starts with Sae passing the ball to Shido, and Nico quickly realizes that Shido's special ability is to score whenever he gets close to the box. Shido then passes the ball back to Sae before suddenly going wild, rushing forward in a zigzag pattern and cutting through all the players. Nico thinks to himself that Shido's movements are so strange that they are even confusing his own teammates. As Shido closes in on the goalkeeper, Sae suddenly kicks the ball toward him even though the space is really tight. Right then, Chidori sprints at full speed to stop Shido, but Shido instead sends the ball over to Sendu, and Chidori realizes too late that Shido was only using him as a decoy to support his own play. Sendu passes the ball back to Shido, who quickly returns it to Sendu, and then Sendu sends it over to Sae. Sae fires a sharp snapshot toward Shido, and Shido uses his wild, devilish style as he prepares to take the shot. But right before he can finish, Nico steps in and interferes, earning himself a yellow card. After the play, Nico tells Isagi that he had already seen everything ahead of time, noticing how Sendu moved into an awkward space and how Shido tossed it back to Sae. Even though he takes an injury from the clash, Nico insists to Isagi that he will keep playing and prove to everyone what his eyes are truly capable of. Afterward, the match continues and Sae lines up to take a free kick. But instead of shooting, Shido steps forward like he's about to kick, only to run past the ball and keep going. Everyone quickly realizes that it is a fake out and the real shooter is actually Sae. At the same moment, Chidori sprints at full speed, trying to block Shido's movement. When Sae finally kicks the ball, Chidori stretches to reach it, but he is just an inch too late. Right then, Shido throws himself at the ball like a monster and blasts it straight into the net, scoring the goal. Afterward, Nico points out to the others that what they just witnessed was a chemical reaction between Sae and Shido working together. Meanwhile, Chidori suddenly feels pain in his leg, showing that it has started to hurt. Seeing the situation, Ego tells Anri that it is finally the right moment to bring in some substitutes, saying he needs players who can take the game to the next level. After that, Chidori and Nico are subbed out, and Mikage and Hyori enter the field. The match starts again, and everyone knows that this goal will decide who takes control of the game. Isagi gets the ball and quickly passes it to Hyori, noticing that Hyori's real strength is his calm vision and the way he plays without rushing. Hyori then sends the ball forward, and it connects back to Isagi, who almost fires a direct shot but Aiku steps in and blocks him at the last second. Meanwhile, Mikage is battling to stop Shido, working together with Bakira to hold him back. Afterward, Mikage manages to defend perfectly against Shido. The game continues, and Shido thinks to himself that the world still doesn't know who he really is, and that everything about him is made for scoring goals and surviving on the field. When Sae passes him the ball, Shido goes for the shot, but Mikage blocks him again. Shido quickly realizes that Mikage is copying the moves of one of their teammates. Then, as Shido tries to strike the ball, Mikage kicks it at the same time and the shot ends up straight in Gagamaru's hands. Gagamaru throws the ball, but Sae quickly jumps in and steals it. Without wasting a second, Sae sends a super long pass toward Shido. Shido runs after the ball as fast as he can and notices that the only one standing in his path is Gagamaru. Gagamaru steps forward without hesitation and strikes the ball with his head once more. At that very moment, Shido slips into the flow state that Ego once explained before. Putting all of his strength into it, he suddenly flips backward and kicks the ball while still in the air. The ball blasts forward with great speed straight into the net, and Shido ends up scoring the goal. Meanwhile, Ego realizes that Shido is the first player in this match to enter the flow state. After scoring, Shido runs straight to Sae, jumping on his back and declaring that he'll play soccer with him forever. Sae, however, throws him to the ground in annoyance. Watching from the control room, Anri tells Ego that a goal like that shouldn't have been possible based on Shido's data and urges him to do something, but Ego replies that from this point on, there is no plan. At the same time, Isagi approaches Ego and asks how they can possibly win. Ego calls him stupid and says that Blue Lock has already won. However, he says that everyone is going to end up in a good place, like Sae and Shido, who will stand in Japanese soccer stardom, and even the others will also move towards something good since they will get noticed from this stage. But Isagi says that they are the ones winning right now, and his ego starts showing clearly in his eyes as if it is pouring out. Right after that, Ego puts Barou into the team by swapping him with Otoya. Then the match starts, and Rin gives the ball to Hyori while Rin and Isagi rush forward together, and Hyori quickly throws the ball toward Isagi, who almost gets a clean hit, but at the last moment Barou jumps in like a lion and takes the ball away. Barou pushes forward with power, and the U-20 player quickly notices that Barou keeps his eyes fixed on the penalty area, but Barou suddenly changes things up and makes another sharp chop dribble before firing a strong shot at the goal. The ball ends up smacking against the pole, bouncing away, but it rolls straight toward the glasses guy, who is already thinking about finishing it. He swings at it with his ultimate shot that curves tightly and looks like it is about to fly into the net, but once again Aiku steps in at the last second and blocks it. After that, there is a flashback about Aiku when he is younger, showing how he always dreams of being a striker, but his coach keeps telling him to play as an assist even though he really wants to score goals himself. In time, he accepts the role of an assist, but one day he honestly tells his coach that soccer feels boring to him now, and he also says he does not think he can ever become the best striker. Because of that, he decides to change his path and says to his coach that he wants to become the greatest defender in the world instead. Returning to the present, the ball reaches Rin, and he quickly pulls off a clever trick to run right past Sendu, but Aiku suddenly shows up and blocks his way. When he sees that, Isagi understands that Aiku has entered the flow state because his reading of the game and his reactions are now much sharper than before. Aiku successfully blocks Rin's attack and clears the ball away, sending it back to SAE. After that, the U-20 team quickly launches a fast counterattack, but at the same time the Blue Lock team is also prepared to meet them head-on. Shidu uses his lightning-fast footwork to slip past Mikage, and Mikage realizes that he cannot block him with just a copied move while also keeping his eyes on SAE. At that moment, SAE fires the ball toward Shidu, and Gagamaru notices that Mikage's pressure has cut down Shidu's choices, leaving him with only one corner left to aim at. Just as Shidu fires his shot, Gagamaru takes a huge gamble by guessing that the ball will drop low, but instead it rises high, so he stretches out and uses his legs to block the goal. The ball bounces back toward Mikage, who then pulls off a lift-tap move just like Nagi and takes a shot. Nagi gets control of the ball but quickly passes it over to Isagi, and together Barou and Isagi charge forward toward the keeper. Suddenly, Karasu appears out of nowhere and they send the ball to him. He quickly returns it to Isagi, who sends it right back to Nagi, and then Nagi passes it once more to Isagi. Isagi drives forward and makes it almost even with Aiku, but at the same time SAE also rushes up and closes in. However, Isagi pushes himself as hard as he can to reach the ball first, but at the very last moment SAE shoves into him, knocking him out of his flow and throwing him off balance. Right then, Rin shows up and calls out to Isagi to snap back into his senses, and with that Isagi quickly blocks SAE's path. This time, Rin and Aiku both rush toward the ball at full speed, but out of nowhere Barou charges in with unstoppable force and blasts the ball into the goal, striking like a wild tiger. However, Barou ends up getting a yellow card for pulling off his shirt during the celebration, but at the same time Isagi starts thinking about how their teamwork allowed them to score another goal. He feels certain that this same teamwork is what will carry them forward and guide them toward winning the match. After that, Rin realizes the match has started to center around Isagi, and he decides he is not going to let Isagi take all the spotlight, so he makes up his mind to score on his own, just like Isagi plans to do as well. The final phase of the game begins as Shidu sends the ball to SAE, who quickly dribbles straight toward Isagi. SAE then pulls off a hyper-technical nutmeg, slipping the ball right through Isagi's legs, and he does not stop there but keeps pushing forward on a solo run as he gets past everyone in his way. Rin grows furious and tries to steal the ball from him, but SAE smoothly dodges and keeps moving forward with control. Thinking about his past makes Rin even more furious, so he charges forward while remembering how he once admired SAE's soccer style, the way SAE used logic to brush past opponents with almost no effort at all. Rin also realizes that the reason SAE chose Shidu over him was because SAE wanted to guide the talent of that devil striker and build himself into the best midfielder in the world. Right after that, SAE sends the ball toward Shidu, and as Shidu swings to strike, Rin steps in. The kick almost lands on the ball but instead clips Rin, who turns his head just in time and ends up taking the hit himself. Isagi realizes he changed his style just to stop the goal, and now he is becoming someone who can kill SAE. The match goes on with Mikage kicking the ball forward, and this time Isagi and Bakira rush toward the goal together. Out of nowhere, Barou also charges in and starts clashing with Isagi for control, but the ball ends up at Bakira's feet. Bakira then dashes past the U-20 players one after another and pulls off a fake roulette to trick them, but soon he finds himself face to face with Aiku. Instead of passing, he uses his smash monster technique and breaks through Aiku's defense. The goalkeeper comes out fast to grab the ball, but Bakira nearly scores before Sendu jumps in at the last second and blocks the shot. After that, SAE takes the ball and quickly passes it over to Kento and Teru, who move forward together, but when they get blocked, they send it across to Sendu, who fires off a shot. Nagi and Barou both jump in and block it, stopping the play. In the end, the ball reaches Aiku, and he almost manages to score, but Rin steps in at the perfect moment to block him. SAE then lines up for a free kick and passes the ball toward Aiku again, but Rin interferes and the ball slips past them both before rolling straight to Shidu. Right then, Isagi finally enters his flow state and with perfect timing he rushes in and kicks the ball away. Suddenly, Rin snaps into a rampage mode and starts charging forward with the ball, but when Isagi calls out for them to use their combo play, Rin instead cuts to the opposite side, which is even tighter. He comes up against Teppei and quickly figures out that Teppei's main weapon is speed, but Rin bursts with acceleration and runs straight past him. Watching this, Isagi realizes that Rin's movements are completely irrational and nothing like how Rin usually plays. Right after, Rin meets another defender and instantly reads his skill as well, then tackles through him and keeps moving forward. He keeps using the other player's strengths against them, and Ego realizes from the sidelines that Rin is now playing a style where he drags out each opponent's weapon only to crush it, and this state he has entered is his true flow. Rin then comes face to face with Aiku, who believes with his sharp vision he can easily stop him, but even he finds himself unable to do anything against Rin's attack. Just then, Shidu charges in and grabs onto Rin, but right away Isagi steps forward, trying to draw out Rin's full potential. Aiku notices that Isagi's words and presence are pushing Rin to become even stronger. Rin suddenly pulls off a shot feint and then fires a powerful strike that twists Aika's leg but ends up smashing against the pole instead of going in. After that, SAE quickly takes control of the ball, and the game is given additional time as long as SAE keeps possession. SAE and Shidu sprint together straight toward the keeper, and though Isagi and Barou both rush in to stop SAE, their efforts fail. With that, SAE and the entire U-20 team drive forward in a desperate charge toward the goal. But then, Rin once again enters his flow state and suddenly appears right in front of SAE. However, SAE starts mocking him, saying that without using him as an excuse and Rin cannot even play proper soccer. Hearing those words, Rin recalls everything from the past and realizes that the one who is truly half-baked and disgusting is not him but SAE. With that, Rin declares himself as egoistic Rin. SAE drives toward the goal but Rin stays on him closely, and the two of them clash shoulder to shoulder as they run. SAE then tries to pass the ball to another teammate but Rin's foot catches it, sending the ball flying high into the air. At that exact moment, Isagi, who's now fully inside his flow state, rushes in and strikes the ball with perfect timing. He scores the goal. With that final goal, Team Blue Lock wins the match and Ego along with the others can hardly believe the way they managed to pull off the victory. Afterward, the whole team burst into celebration, shouting and cheering together. During this moment, SAE turns to Rin and tells him that the one who has truly awakened his instincts and is going to change the soccer of this country is none other than Isagi. Soon after, Ego reveals his next plan, announcing the start of Blue Lock Phase 2, which he calls the Neo-Egoist League. Isagi's journey from a nobody striker to defeating Japan's U-20 team seemed impossible, but he proved everyone wrong by awakening his true ego on the field. The Neo-Egoist League promises even greater challenges ahead, with world-class players waiting to crush their dreams. Comment, Striker, if you like this video and make sure to like and subscribe the channel for more.